La Lanterna, a spotlight in Italian football, is a podcast that dives into the beautiful game seen from the eyes of two fans from the oldest team in Italy's point of view. My name is Fabrizio Cardone, Canadian and Genovese, together with my friend Matt Killen, an American-born and Genoa fan. Every week, we'll tell you all you need to know about the only team you need to know about, Genoa CFC. Plus, we'll have guests and provide updates from around the magical world of Italian football. Welcome everybody to episode 17 of La Lanterna, and this is Fabrizio, and hello to you, Matt. How are you?
Ciao, Fabrizio. Doing well.
All right, then. So now it's match day 5. So I don't know. This is going to be a tough one. So let's start by saying Genoa faces their first loss.
Yes.
What are your first words about that one, Matt?
Let's get this one out of the way. I think it was coming, I guess you could kind of say, but I don't think it was as unexpected. I guess I'll say that. And you called this actually in our last podcast. You predicted a pretty narrow loss to Palermo.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do remember also vividly your words when you were talking about that Blessin was running them very slim and so on. However, I don't know if that was the case. I think that Palermo is definitely an underrated team. Yes, it does come from Serie C. Yes, they didn't do a major change into the market with new players and whatnot. Let's remember that it was the two juggernauts fighting against each other, and I mean the two capocannonieri. So the capocannonieri from Serie C and the capocannonieri of Serie B, Coda. But obviously the other one won and not Coda. But what I'm trying to say with that is like I don't know. Let's first. I just want to say so many things right here that I don't even know where to start. I know there's so much to talk about, but let's say that the match I saw it coming up. I think there has been too much pressure, and we're gonna talk about this like shortly, anyways, as you know.
Yep.
But there has been way too much pressure from the sidelines, and what I mean by that meaning from the fans, from parts of the management, and definitely from journalists around the local anyways. So that's more impacting them on the Genova side. So that's a newspaper and TV. So I think that is also, and we'll do a little bit of detailed analysis about the match itself, and that's perhaps the reason why we got at a certain point, we were like with 4 strikers in the front.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you brought that up because so we travel away to Palermo. We lose 1-0. This is another match in which we've not completely dominated and exerted our might as the powerful oldest club of Italy and all of these things. And I think a lot of fans are reacting to that specifically. You know, we're now in Serie B. We're having several matches now. We've taken, was it 2 draws and a loss, I think.
For Palermo.
And it's not looking like we're completely asserting our form. We're now sitting technically at 9th in the table is where we are right now. Although, as you and I both know, it is super early in the season, and we're 4 points off from the leaders who are Regina and Brescia, which both I think probably the results are flattering them a little bit. So, you know, you've got all this stuff floating where we've not been this free-flowing attacking side. We've not been completely bossing the pitch all the time. We've got these players, but it doesn't seem like they exactly fit. And, you know, the lowest common denominator is get Blessin the F out of there. And we got to completely rechange and rebuild and screw all this rah-rah stuff. He's the wrong guy. And
go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think they need to be a little bit more pragmatic about this, as boring as that sounds, because there's a reality here. Like, we're in Serie B. Like, this was a difficult-ish match. Like, if you were to tell me at the beginning of the season, even though Palermo just came up from Serie C, that we go away to Palermo at the beginning of the season and we lose, I wouldn't have been shocked. I would have kind of expected a win. I predicted a win last week, but this is one of those kind of bogey matches. It's a side that probably shouldn't have been in Serie C to begin with. They have, as you mentioned, the top scorer from Serie C, who, by the way, looks right at home in Serie B, Brunori.
Yep.
So, and guess what? Like the goal that was scored was, as soon as that ball was conceded, it was almost a certain fact that was going to be a goal. From where we lost the ball in the pitch and what happened there, like there was almost nothing that Martinez could have done. There's nothing that our recovering defense could have done. It was over. So
I have a few things I want to add to that, though, Matt. Like you said at the beginning, just a few minutes ago, or a few seconds ago, whatever you want to call that, but that there was not much of domination. And this is where I want to actually jump into this, meaning essentially a lot of people have been saying this. A lot of people have been saying it was a crappy, excuse my language, but a crappy match. Genoa did not even got off the plane. The heads was still left in Genoa and so on. But first of all, and I'm adding this portion too, that I wanted to stress that not only we have had a start of the season that was drastically hard, like our calendar was way different compared to at least the top contenders that are technically going to be, they're called to be like in the top 8 at least, and definitely in the top 3 to fight for the top 2 spots, direct spots in Serie A. And I have to say that the calendar is tough. And no matter what team we're going to be facing, we are, I don't necessarily like this comparison because I don't like the team itself, but just to make a point is we are the Juventus of Serie B. Everyone is going, I know.
wow.
But everyone is going to face us with the best they have, with the best, like, it's like that match where every single player is going to do their best because they want to show off against the king of the league.
Yep.
So even like a Sud Tirol, and it's nothing against them, or Parma, they're going to pull out the best they have. Look at Parma themselves. It was a great match. A lot of people were against it and so on. And I said in the last podcast, it was a great match because it was 2 great teams. And Parma pulled out the best that they had. Okay, fine, lucky, 2 goals, whatever, right?
Sure.
Ricochet, etc. But they are technically the contenders with us for the top 2 spots and or with Cagliari, right? But they pulled out the best match that they could do, and indeed that's why we ended with a beautiful, not from a Genoano perspective, but a beautiful match. And the same thing is what Palermo did. And not to mention all these other matches. Like I was looking at the next 5 matches, except Cagliari, and I'm not saying it's going to be all difficult, but all easy, I mean, but we're going to have Modena, Spal, Cagliari, Cosenza, and Ternana, which on the paper are technical, except for the Cagliari one, it's a lot better compared to the first 5 that we faced. Yes. So about all these people saying, oh yeah, but etc. So it's the 2 factors, the difficult calendar for the first 5 matches, and then no matter who you're going to face, they're going to put up their best. So are we at a point that we should be very upset and we're having struggles with? I don't know, and I don't think so. Let me add to that, to the point that I was mentioning just before, and I got a little bit sidetracked to that one. But you said, we did not dominate the match. I'm looking at the statistics right now. I see 65% possession for Genoa. I see 5 shots on target against the 4 of Palermo. We were playing away. 7 corner kicks, 4 offsides, 7 corner kicks against 2 of theirs, 4 offsides against the 1 of theirs. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say with that is, like, are these statistics, 1, bad, and 2, going to face another strong team away, so not at home?
Well, I mean, I think there's maybe a counterpoint to some of those things, but I agree with you. I mean, like, we did definitely, first of all, there's at least 1 goal that, again, We had some poor luck with VAR. I think if that damn thing didn't exist, Bonnie's goal probably definitely stands. I didn't think that was an obvious offside again. So we're unlucky in that regard. I understand, the possession thing, like you can dominate possession and still not really do a whole hell of a lot in the fact that our shots on target were comparable to theirs, even though they were kind of waiting on the counter, you could say more even perhaps. But for me, look, this is maybe a bucket of cold water that we don't want to throw on ourselves. But guys, we watched last season in Serie A. We watched an abysmal team for the entire season, and we had seen that for a couple of years. We had some sparks under Ballardini that were fun, even under David and Nicola that were kind of fun. But last year's team was fucking horrendous, okay? And I hate to say it, but the level of talent between the lowest of Serie A, which is where we were, if we're being honest with ourselves, and honestly, like a decent portion of Serie B, and to your point, we're playing for, in large part, some of the better sides there. It's not that different. We're not looking at a massive drop-off. We are probably the most famous club in Serie B. We have that pedigree. We have the history. We signed the best goal scorer in Serie B last season. I think the rest of the signings that we've made, you could probably throw a little bit of a question mark behind them. Strootman is old as hell. Ilsanker, same. Aramu should be good, but he's barely played with us. So I'm not saying anything bad. I don't mean bad things about those players, but it's not like we've gone and spent £200 million and we're playing Serie B with house money and we're just supposed to walk over every team. I think the reality is this is the reason why we were scared about Serie B, is that Serie B is a really difficult competitive competition. And I don't think that I think you're right. I think it's way too early to tell. I don't think there are enough signs that say we are not equipped with our squad to do what we need to do and to win the division. But at the same time, I think we have to understand that like we are going to drop some points. And unfortunately, this has happened. And looking at the matches in which we've not won all 3 points, I think in all of them, we were a little bit unlucky to get the result that we got, but it's a reality. So I'm with you that, I think the one thing that I'll say is like, I understand fans expecting us to boss the game more and not seeing that. I think even with the numbers, I think the eye test is in many cases that we're not necessarily doing that. I think the Parma match, maybe you could argue the opposite, but some of those goals came from defensive lapses before the weird ricochets or things that happened. So like some of that stuff is still there. I'm a little bit worried. I've mentioned this in a couple of podcasts. I'm a little bit worried about Hefty. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I've not seen him be this really defensive juggernaut player that I remember him being last season in Serie A. And so there's some of that stuff. And I still will pencil this in as my main concern is defensively, I don't have a problem with Bonnie or Hefty or Payak or Dragushin, but like it does feel like somehow with maybe the way we're lining up, or maybe the way our midfield is composed, which is kind of odd because with Frendrup and Botto, we have two very defensive midfielders, that there still seems like there's something there that could be taken for granted, but I don't think we're like Swiss cheese either. We're not letting goals in like crazy or the opponent's always running against us. So, maybe that's a little bit of an overreaction. I don't know.
Well, no, definitely. Like the Parma is a one-off. Personally, I honestly strongly think that it's a one-off. And when I'm talking about that is like of the goal taken.
Yes.
If you remove that
quantity of goals, yes,
it's a very solid defense. Sure, I agree with you that we had one or one and a half match where Hefty was not that super duper guy that we were used to.
Yeah,
but it's that influx can happen. It can be ups and downs. It's fine.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I still think that. I don't know. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I still think that those signings demonstrate the fact of not necessarily only going in and find a new talent, which we've seen that all our best players are coming from the signings from January of last year anyways.
Yep.
But I think that those new signings are not only necessary from a perspective of the future, close future, mind you, but also with respects to giving that certainty, not throwing in new players that don't have that experience that people were claiming that we need
Well,
so badly, right?
So
And
yeah, keep going. Sorry.
no, it's okay. And that it still keeps in fact the fact of Jagiello, still keeps in the fact of Payats. That still means even though old as hell and whatnot, everybody would lick their fingers to have either one between Strootman and Badel.
Yes, no, fair. And my point in mentioning those guys as a whole is kind of exactly what you just said, is that I think really our side is more or less the side that we had last season, with some key substitutions, of course, some of the maybe troublemakers or the more senior players that are no longer there. Maybe you say, well, what about Criachito and all this other stuff? But like, I think when you think about like the guys who are really contributing to our goal scoring opportunities, who are we seeing? It's Akupan, it's Gudmundsson, it's Frendrup. We're still seeing Badel play a really critical role. Portanova playing a really critical role. Jagiello was on loan last year. Technically, he was within the side. We throw in Massimo Coda. Payats, we signed him. Dragushin, okay, we had to replace Ostigard. But other than...
You're saying that the overall skeleton of the team is still the same?
I think the main contributors to us being successful for the most part is those players that we had, and to your point, from the January window from last season. Like I mean, Ekuban maybe doesn't fit that bill exactly, but
center back is definitely the two that changed. So we have, and I'm referring back to what you said, Dragozin and Payats.
Right. Yes, in defense.
And I would say, besides the bench, now I'm looking at what happened up until today, right? But besides the bench that got enriched, we have only one major change, which is Massimo Coda,
right?
Which we have a whole bunch of conversations to do around him, because there's a lot of controversy around also his. But we'll do that probably also with a guest.
Yes.
But nevertheless, yeah, you're right. I would say if you have to look at it from this perspective, and I'm not going to count Martinez because I still think that, I mean, a goalie is important. We had a technically quote unquote valid goalie before, whether some people disagree or not, it still was a valid goalie anyways. And I would not count that necessary towards the, let's call them the 10 players themselves. So sure. Those are 3 out of 10 are new. I agree with you.
Right.
So it's not, but that's so true, Matt. You did not actually, I think you actually spot on with it. Just needed that little more in order for us to not be going down, because it was just a matter of 2 points, if I'm recollecting that well.
Right.
Mind you, oh my God, I just read this article like an hour ago. Someone somewhere, I don't remember neither who or whatnot, interviewed Mr. Ballardini. So Ballardini has a huge history with us, great personality. Mind you, a lot of people claim him to be a, what would we call it? Like Preziosi man.
Preziosi man that got fired 3 times, though. I mean,
right, but if you,
I get why people would say that, though. I understand.
No, right. If you're that against someone that even technically, from what you're reading on the papers, has insulted you to say you're the worst coach on earth, and then you're still okay to come back, and or the fact of he wanted to resign but didn't resign because he didn't want to pay he wanted to be fired so he could keep the paycheck. Like, honestly, no offense to Ballardini, like, God forbid, we will love him because he's like Zio Ballardini, essentially, right? So he's like our he's family, essentially.
Yes.
But you know what? Going on national television or writing down on one of the national papers and whatnot to say, if I were there, I would have saved Genoa. Like, come on, seriously? Like, people were yelling, screaming. He had to leave.
I mean, I don't think that's not right, I guess. I mean, look, Shevchenko was so bad that having Ballardini in the side, like, this guy's crazy, like wizard tricks. Would he have gotten as many like draws as Blessin did at the end of the season? Sure, he probably would have won a couple matches. He knew all that stuff. He knew how to tinker with the lineup the way that we had, and obviously we had terrible injuries I get what you're saying. It doesn't help in the environment that we have right now, which, by the way, guys, like this is the crazy thing, is we're talking about the environment we have right now like it's DEFCON 5. Okay, like we've drawn 2 matches and we've lost a single match. To your point, we've played already Venezia, we've played Parma,
Benevento.
Yep, Benevento, and now Palermo. Like, and by the way, Pisa, who are at the bottom of the table somehow this season, almost were promoted to Serie A last year. So those are our first 5 matches. Like, that's not this. We're not playing Südtirol 5 times and winning 2 of them. Like, that's not what's happening right now. So, you know, it's a long way of saying that, yes, it's not ideal that he said that given the unrest that's already happening with Genoa fans and people probably already saying, well, I remember the Ballardini who got us through this past season, even though Preziosi was shit and everything else happened. And like, I get it. I'm a Ballardini guy too. I love Ballardini. I think he's amazing. Maybe not a tactical wizard, but he's a guy that knows what to do when we're trying to get some. He's like a Sam Allardyce kind of, you know, he helps you kind of stabilize and stay there. We're probably
Absolutely right.
better.
Like psychologically, he's like, and he, at least with us, and actually I shouldn't say that, in his latter part of the career, especially with us, but he has shown it also with other benches that he had been to. He's been doing great to take on a team that had issues and take them to the end of the season. While every time he started, Lazio included, he did a very bad job.
This is why the yo-yo thing's going on. But anyway, I mean, I guess like getting back to your point on should we talk more about like the fan unrest and everything that's going on, or should we talk more about like?
Well, yeah, all this was to lead to the fact that everybody sounds to be going against Blessing. I don't think. I don't personally agree with that. I posted that, and I noticed that you noticed that immediately. I posted it on the Genoa Club Toronto page, and for the fact that and I brought also a very interesting, in my opinion, and I'm going to have a lot of hatred about this, and or it's going to be a 50-50 in a generic thing. What I'm trying to say is, like, I brought this. I posted a post about Osvaldo Bagnoli. Bagnoli in the 90s brought Genoa to perhaps even more to what Gasperini has even done, bringing to the semifinals of the
beginning of the 90s,
Coppa UEFA, con Scuravi, con Aguilera, and so on. It was just like the dream team that I'm not going to even say about that year that we reached like this tremendous result. Someone else even did better, but it had to be like, that's like,
no, I know. I knew exactly what you're saying. I wasn't going to say it, but you put it out there. So, but we were the ones that beat Liverpool. Okay. So let's just...
Exactly. And Liverpool ended up winning it too, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So it's, anyways, it's important. It's important. And no, sorry, Ajax at the end. Sorry, Ajax at the end.
We lost to Ajax, actually.
Nevertheless, I don't know. This and so one of his comments, this great coach of back then, and he even won the Scudetto with Verona, was he pointed out that Genoani fans are fantastic, but he maybe went a little bit too extreme, but it was my point to say that he said that Genoani are can be the ruin of the problem, the downfall of Genoa, based on the fact that they're like this Mugugno that I always bring it up, and you probably are starting to learn this word by now. It's like this consistent complaint. So it's like,
word, by the way.
It's what you said before too. It's almost like it's unhappiness and complaining that we're like this. It's a bad year, that we're doing this and this and that, and that's why we started the podcast by commenting about the fact that the tough meaning on the paper, the worst probably starting 5 matches among the any other team and whatnot, and so on. Like, it's early. Asking for Blessing's head right now, and people would say, well, it's better now than too late. It's too early. Like 8 points on 5 matches. Take away Palermo for a second. 8 points is on 4, like an average of 2 points per game. That's not bad at all. And one more thing I wanted to add before, and I apologize for taking too much time on it,
No.
but even the Juventus of Serie B lost 4 matches. So they didn't go clean sheet like they did in that year, the record year of the Scudetto.
Very good point.
4 losses and 11 ties.
Very good point. So this is exactly the thing. We are in Serie B, guys. We are not Juventus and Serie A buying all the players off of our competitors. Well, I guess we did with Coda. Fine, you got me there. But this is a competitive match. This is a competitive season, a competitive tournament. Like, this is not going to be something that we're going to be able to win 4-0 every single time we play. And it's unfortunate that that's how it is. Cagliari, who are sitting above us, have played Modena and Spal and Como. Okay, so they're
well, Matt, wait a minute. Don't talk about whoever's above us, because I still don't believe that anybody that is above us is going to still be above us for a long time. And I'm not saying anything against our guests and so on, but
that's my point, though. It's like, if you're looking at, oh, well, we're in this position of the table and we should be at the top of the table. Everyone, we are so early in the season to even know what we're looking at right now. And half of the teams that are sitting ahead of us in the table, maybe they had a little bit of an easier route. So
it's only MD5, match day 5. It's still a way long to go. And it's not it's not done yet. Like, come on, really. I still don't believe that that I don't know. It's just still, it's staggering to understand how can people really be so negative and want Blessing's head. It's just like, well, anyways, we'll talk more about it with our special guest that we're going to introduce shortly, right after the break. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we go to the break, Matt?
Well, do you want to talk about there's 2 things. We could save them. We could talk about overall just what happened in match day 5, and then in-person review of the kit, if we want to get into that.
Yeah, okay. So let me do a quick review of match day 5. And I'll leave you to the actual to the review of the kit itself. So match day 5. Obviously, we know that it brought us a little small setback for Genoa. We saw, I'm still stunned and surprised about Venezia losing at Ferrara against Spal.
Yep.
Then we have Perugia 1, Ascoli 0. Ascoli was that other one that people were saying, oh my God, they could be the surprise of Serie B, but obviously doesn't seem like. Then you get Cagliari winning at Benevento, which was important to keep, anyways, a contender a little bit on the low side. Frosinone, I watched the Cittadella match. I'm a little bit biased because I'm a little bit friends with Cittadella, because we will have him as a guest soon anyways. Jake from Los Angeles, he's like a Cittadella fan, but happy for them anyways. And the Como losing at home against Südtirol was like something else to dream of for those guys from Südtirol, like seriously. Our friends, unfortunately, of Cosenza have lost at home against Bari, which it'll be, even though they're new from Serie C, they're definitely one of the top 8 in my opinion anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Modena, Brescia. Modena, we'll talk soon anyways, also with our guests, with respect to what's going to happen. But Brescia's like waking up, because it started with a little bit of a slip and now it's slowly coming back up.
Brescia
Parma
are on a roll. 4 out of 5 they've won too.
I know, exactly. And then Parma, for God's sakes, go and loses against Ternana, which makes me think, do we have to worry about Ternana, or was it just like a fluke and a bad match for Parma?
They sent like half of our players there, so maybe they know our secrets. I don't know.
Pisa, after that very tight fight with us, and then obviously, as you mentioned, that it was the winning of Regina. Does that really make them be the contenders in the top 8? I mean, people, I still will always think good about him. People in Inzaghi, I mean, but I don't know. I mean, he did well in the past. Also, I think was with I can't remember who was a team that he helped to bring up in Serie A, but. And then obviously our match. And so anyways, it was an interesting match. Day 5 brought a lot of changes to the actual standings.
feel like the table looks like the top four look different every single week. We're seeing
it is. So we go back and back and back to what always we say about the City B is like very different compared to City A, very tight. The point you said before, like among the top 15, there's like only 6 points of difference. So it's just like incredible. Anyways.
Yeah.
Review, and then we go to the break, but review of the kit.
Yes. So my brother's birthday recently came and passed, and while I was in Genoa, he asked me to bring him back a shirt. I tried to get one from the store, but they were all the famous Kappa shrink wrap style, and so wouldn't have looked good on anybody. But with the new Castor kits, I think that's how you pronounce it. I got him one of those and presented it to him when we were in Dallas. And by the way, we have to all kind of guilt him on founding Genoa Club Dallas and making sure that actually does happen, because I think that'd be a pretty damn cool thing. And we got to get that scarf into.
It has to happen. It has to happen.
It just makes sense. The Texas flag's already kind of our colors.
With the star.
Yeah, just put the Grifone in there instead. So the good things, obviously the colors are true. It's the really kind of dark navy, and then that red color really looks nice. The material felt pretty decent, I thought, and it actually fits
true size,
fairly loose and true to size. Yeah, I shouldn't say true. I shouldn't say loose. It's really true to size. It's an actual shirt you can put on. If you wear an XL, it'll fit like an XL. The detailing was kind of nice with the gold on there. My biggest complaint, which I actually was really pissed about, is that they basically like laminated the kit on the thing, or the badge on the kit. Like it's like a little, like you could probably scratch the thing a couple times and it comes off. It's like, this is the one thing. Like if it's heat sealed, I'm fine with it. I kind of prefer the replica ones that have it stitched, because like that stuff always stays on, even if the sponsor doesn't. But I think if you wash the kit like 10 times over, it might fade. It might even peel, and you just see like the badge outline of it. So really poor marks on the badge part of the kit, the most important part of the whole damn thing. Besides that, I guess it's a decent shirt, but a fair warning for anybody looking at the thing. I did buy, it was, I guess it's the only one that you can buy right now for men. It's like the 60.
No, you can buy all three now.
Well, no, sorry. Like, I don't know if they're going to do a, sometimes some manufacturers do like the authentic version. That's like
right,
the player spec or something.
Right.
And so I don't know if they're ever going to do that. Like the one on their site is like 60 euro or something like that. And with shipping ended up being basically the normal price of a new kit here in the States, which is ridiculous, but it's like $90. It's like all of that stuff, buying it from there, getting it, I think the time to actually receive the kit.
Yeah, but you did say that you got the expedited shipping too, right?
No, I didn't. For us kind of not in Europe, if you're shipping at least to North America, it took actually only like 4 days to get the thing, which
is not bad.
No, but you're paying for that international shipping thing, so it was like another like 20 euro or something stupid on top of the kit to actually ship the thing. But the all-in cost, like if you were to go in and buy, by the way, MLS jerseys are ridiculously expensive, but if you're going to buy like a Toronto kit today from your store in Toronto, it'll probably be $90. So the end cost was the same. But man, I'm really bummed about the badge. That was a pretty big letdown. So.
It must be something about that replica thing that you see on the website. I don't know. It's not, because if it shows replica, it should mean that it's not that it's not authentic, but it's not the original. But I don't know. Did it have the little holes under the armpits?
No, I think the holes were there. Yeah,
were there. Okay.
So it's not what I'm sure it's not what the players are wearing, but still, you want something that you can wear this for a while and you'll still be able to see the
so out of 10, what vote are you going to give?
I can't go higher than a 6. I think. I mean, it's a good design, but you can't fuck up the badge. Like I don't know if the design sucked and the badge is good. I'd probably still I'd probably buy the third shirt, even the third shirt looks weird because our badge is on there.
So if they sold it, the sewn on one, would you buy it and then replace it?
I probably would. Yeah.
Good point. All right, let's go with our break, and we'll have Tobia Salvai from Scotland to be our super special guest right after the break.
My name is Fabrizio Cardone, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to La Lanterna podcast. I apologize for that moment, but we're here with our guest, Matt. We have a special Genoano from all the way from Scotland.
Yes, cannot wait. Welcome.
So
Hello.
we have Tobia. Tobia, welcome to our podcast.
Hello, guys. Hi. Thank you very much for inviting me over.
Of course, honored to have you with us. And to let everybody know, Tobia, we've known him for a long time. Well, relatively speaking, because the reason why we started also our podcast was thanks to Genoani Resta.
Yep.
And as I was a guest at their third episode, Tobia was a guest also for them as well. And that's how we all got to know each other and whatever. But Tobia, tell us a little bit more about your story. Like, where are you from? Why are you Genoano and all that stuff?
Well, I'm from Genova. I lived in Marassi in Scalinata Montaldo. So you know the stairs that they paint red and blue, right?
I do that very well.
I've born, and my very first house where my parents used to live was in the stairs, but I lived in there for very little. Then we moved towards Savona, which is a town nearby Genova, about half an hour, 40 minutes. And Savona is a big Genoa town as well.
Yes.
However, I'm a Genoano because really I didn't have any sort of other alternatives back then, either that or I was gonna get kicked out the house. So
that's a good choice, I guess, right?
Yeah. Just since I'm born, I have huge respect and lots of admiration for like folks like Matt, for example. They became Genoanos throughout time, right? Like you guys are sick. Like it's
a problem.
I got a perfect excuse, you guys don't. So really, huge respect for you guys. Then, I did all of my studies in Savona, where I've lived until the age of 23, 24. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, I got enough of what I was doing in there, and I decided to take a break a week and just go alone on a solo holiday. And I came to Edinburgh, and I literally fell in love with the city. It was amazing. Well, when you're on a holiday, it's nice to have fun,
Yeah.
And I found in Edinburgh a really nice, fun city. I was quite young back then, so it was a good place to think of. The last day, I decided to move. So I went back home. I resigned from the job I was doing. And a month later, I just packed and moved up here. I did the first 6 months in a hostel. And then, little by little, you find a job, you settle in, you find a room. And 10 years later, here I am, married with a Portuguese woman that I met here in Edinburgh, with a mortgage to pay. And with the commitment to follow, let's say.
That's pretty awesome, actually. Go on, Matt. You were saying?
No, that's amazing. I mean, to be being in Edinburgh, have you been at all in touch with the Genoa Club UK and all that stuff? Do you?
Oh, of course. That was one of the probably first things I did when I moved back here. One of the the president, Luca Traverso, I kind of knew him before from the Savona times, mm-hmm. As he's a friend of my sister. My sister lived in the UK as well. And yes, basically, I started joining as a club member. And then little by little, either though I'm far away, I try to help as much as I can, and I'm part of the board of the club, and we are a pretty big club for what it is, I'd say, because we are very close to actually have 100 members.
Oh wow, that's huge.
And I would say that out of 100, at least 15, 20 are British born and bred fans that either because of some connections in the past, the grandmother was from Genova or something like that, or
Yeah.
either just because some of them ended up watching the game in Anfield Road in the 90s, against Liverpool.
Yep.
They just fell in love with the fans. They fell in love with with the spirit of supporting Genoa, and their Italian team is not Juventus, is not Inter Milan, it's Genoa. It's incredible.
So it's all about. I love that.
So yeah, they fell in love with the fans, but then we were also talking just before you were joining with us, Tobia, about the love and the hatred, or not necessarily the hatred. What I taught this word to Matt about the Mugugno of the typical Genovese.
Yeah.
Talking. So we were talking about this fact of it was happening already a little bit, but especially after the loss against Palermo, that it started to get even way out of control. People wanting Blessing's head off and whatnot. How are you living that over there in the UK?
Well, I find that very silly, the whole thing, personally, and in the club as well. I have to say, some people are, how Genoa fans are. They tend to split. So some people are be more like, oh, we need to be patient. Some other are, let's get him out. First of all, it's not up to us. Genoa as a board, as a strong board, I'd say, capable of taking heavy decisions. And so far, the manager is not under discussion, and it would be silly and crazy to even consider that. Yes, the Palermo game was disappointing for some things he did, but not all of them.
Yeah.
The good things he did, in my opinion, were even more than the bad things he did. And again, it's only the 5th game of the season. Like, what the hell? Just chill.
I know, like chill down. Exactly. Actually, there's one thing I did not mention in our conversation before with Matt, and I'm going to open it to the both of you. So Payet is not going to be present next match. How are you? No, sorry. Gudmundsson is not going to be part of my apologies. Is not going to be part of the match. How are you guys going to see the formation? Is he going to go to a 4-3-3? Is he going to go back to the 4-2-1, whatever all that nice different numbers and colors that we're gonna thinking and worry about?
2-2-2-2.
Yeah.
I don't know, Matt, you want to go first?
I mean, I kind of think I would be a little surprised if he didn't do exactly what he did against Palermo. I mean, I get that, like, we didn't get the result, but Jagiello for Gudmundsson kind of makes some sense. And then it seems like he does want to play this way with the 4-2-2-2. I guess that's the number of twos that you say in that formation.
3 times.
3 times, yeah.
And I don't know, Koda and Ekuban probably work better with 2 guys up there. So I don't know. What do you think, Tobia?
Okay, so news is from Genova that is trying a 4-3-3 for the next game.
Okay.
He's trying it on training. Now, whether if he's going to bring it for the Modena game, or as there is a break after the Modena game, that we don't know. The 4-3-3, I think, is ideal for the roster of the team. No, you can keep the defense as the same. You got Badeli that can play as a screen in front of the defense.
Yep.
You got a strong, physical, skilled midfielder like Strootman when he's going to be up to speed. Otherwise, you can replace him with Jagiello.
Yep.
And you got Frendrup or Portanova as a sort of box-to-box midfielder, no?
Yep.
And then you go when he's going to be up to speed, you're going to have Aramu on the right hand side. You're going to have Koda and Puskas in the middle, alternating each other's. And on the left side, you can have Gudmundsson. You can use Yeboah. You can use Ekuban. So you got plenty of options. It's a team, in my opinion, they built the team for that.
For that formation, yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing it yet, and he hasn't shown it yet. This is, of course, my opinion, because to do that, you need a lot of quality. Otherwise, you're gonna become very sterile. And the quality that Genoa has now is out of shape. Aramu, we saw him 10 minutes in Palermo. While he played outside his position, he was on the left side instead of being on the right, and all of that you probably already discussed. But I mean, he's not in shape. After 10 minutes, he was walking.
Right.
Puskas too. Koda as well. Koda is not 100% yet.
Actually,
physically.
no, that's a good point, Tobia. We did not talk about Koda. I mean, we talked about that. We were going to talk about him with you, but essentially I wanted to bring that up again for the fact of people complaining about how Blessin is using Koda today. And they're saying they're not using him properly. That's why we always continues to see him going back and grabbing the he's actually doing the trequartista while he should be the punta, etc. I don't know. I disagree with all these comments, but what do you guys say?
I mean, I can understand why fans would want to see him more in that kind of goal poacher type of a role. I don't know. I didn't watch him play as much last season, so I'm not sure exactly what formation he lined up in most regularly there. But I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, look, he's not had bad matches when he's played. He's not had ridiculous hauls of goals, and that's I think what everybody's reacting to is he's not getting a brace every time he's playing a game. But also, like I think I do understand Tobia's point, though. I mean, I think when you look at the lineup itself and even some of the purchases that were made, like Fabry, we were kind of talking about this too. Like if we're going all in, if we're buying a guy like Ilsanker, or I guess signing him off of a free, and someone like Strootman, like if we're really doubling down on our midfield in that type of a way, like usually that's actually probably more of a midfield 3 than a midfield 4, because you're having players play and also Stuart Otto's not even back yet. Like we've got all these guys that can kind of play in those sort of roles that fit well within a 3 midfield type of a system. And then you kind of just need to have the wing play kind of connect to it. I mean, I personally sort of kind of like the interchange of Ekuban and Koda and what they've been doing, more so probably for Ekuban than Koda. But I can understand the 4-3-3 idea.
Yeah, whether if he's gonna put it down or not, we don't know. In regards of Koda, there's one thing that I think it's important to know about him. Well, two. Thing number one, he can play on a 4-3-3, or he can play on a I don't know 3-5-2, or like we are playing now, you know, with a partner next to him, let's say.
Yeah.
So Koda is a big guy, and he always struggled in every season he played in the last 2-3 years. At the very beginning of the season, Koda is a player that starts to score from the 6th game, 7th game on, because when you do a prep like they did this summer, you know, physical preparation, he reached its peak at the Coppa Italia game against Benevento. And then as soon as you reach the first peak, which is immediate, you have a drop, and then you go up again and you stay constant throughout the season. He's on a low now. But if you look last year, he did a lot of assists. So he likes to play like this. He likes to find his own, you know, space in the pitch. And then, yeah, he started to score regularly from the 7th, 6th, 5th game of the season. So technically speaking, Genoa is a bit of a out of a statistic kind of scene, but from the next game, he's gonna start to be fitter.
Well, you actually bring a good point there, Tobia. Essentially, one of the reasons why I also brought this up as a topic itself is the fact that he's not like your typical number 9 that stays in the box and just waits for the ball. He's like this tactician, if I may say, for lack of better terminology, as a striker, which is quite rare. And he actually participates. He goes back. And it's not like a defensive back. He just goes back and is part of the actual, the action itself, the buildup, exactly. And that's why I find that he's like a very complete striker compared to like like for better reference, just because I think he's like your typical striker itself. Like Pippo Inzaghi was your typical person in the box and waiting for the ball to put him in.
Or even
Exactly. Like, you know,
and
it's people don't remember that.
okay, if you have to compare him with somebody famous internationally, he's not a Haaland. He is Firmino, Liverpool.
Right. Okay. I like
Okay,
that.
is that kind. Okay, well, not that good, of course, but he is that kind of player, right? He's a player that participates in the build-up of the offensive game. The reason why he's not scoring yet is because he's not fit enough to participate on the build-up and then go inside the box himself.
Right.
Whether a Cuban right now, okay, is poor technically, maybe tactically, but physically is
He's
a beast.
He is a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm glad both of you guys have brought that up, because I mean, when you look back to Coppa Italia and maybe what some Genoa fans are thinking about, like, he wasn't just, he was an assist provider in that match. Actually, I don't think he even scored, but some of the play that he had in linking up with Goodmanson and some of the others was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And people have to remember that too. Like, essentially, if that is true, which is true, like, a lot of our goals so far are also thanks to his build-up, and that's not to take that under I mean, that's not to forget, right?
Yeah, indeed. I also make a question as a to provoke a little bit, no? But do we really care about the fact that Coda is going to score a lot of goals? Because I don't mind if Ekuban scores 20 goals instead of Coda, as long as we score
As long
goals.
as it's there.
I don't
I
care
agree
about
with you.
Coda.
Yep.
That's it, you know. So, as long as we win games,
That's all that matters.
Martinez could score, you know. I don't care.
You might need him to.
Well, talking about Martinez, that's another thing that we did not talk about in the first half. He was definitely hands down the best player.
I was going to say the same thing. If we were going to do a player match rating from that game, so you could have said what you said, and I was one of these guys too. He had a couple spells in the games prior. There's some things that make you scratch your head, but his saves in this game, I think, kept it a game for a good long while. And, you know, it's usually not a good sign if your goalkeeper is your best player, but he really, I thought, showed up and showed more of the actual goalkeeping side of things versus sort of the footwork that we've been hearing about.
Well, I think that he was also the best goal player of the match, at least from a Genoa perspective, for different reasons. One, because he did some mistakes in the past, and people are finally realizing the quality of the player that he's having.
Yeah.
And second, there was a lot of disappointment out of this match, and therefore, who are you going to praise? The only one that didn't participate in that match.
Yes.
Well, it was remarkable on the saves he did.
Yes, he did.
To be honest with you, a part of the game with Venezia where he did that terrible mistake, which I haven't seen him doing big mistakes. You know,
I agree.
There's one thing that I noticed, but that's about all the Genoa goalkeepers that we had in the last 3 years. So Perin, Sirigu, and Martinez now. And I think it's related to Scarpi, which he is the manager for goalkeepers. No, he's the guy that trains the goalkeeper.
Right.
They don't get out the small box. They don't go out the small box. The goal that we taken against Palermo was can I say a mess up? Yeah, between Bani, Dragusin, and Martinez. Martinez didn't call the man to Dragusin that was coming like a train, but also when he saw him coming, instead of going out and trying to get the ball, he stayed where he was, allowing him to gain possession and be more of a chance to score. So that was a bit of a mistake. But yes, totally, it was among the best of the game, because then in the second half, it did a couple of very good saves.
Absolutely, good saves in the second. I know that goal was like a train wreck watching. We were talking about this earlier, because you could see from the moment we were dispossessed, like Dragusin wasn't really sure where to go. I was like, they're going to fucking score on this possession. Like, it just looked like that. And then you're right. Like, Martinez didn't come out and close up the space and at least make it harder for him to get the ball in. So that's an interesting point. I didn't actually think about that with our coach.
But yeah, it's a kid that he hasn't played for many games when he was in Leipzig. I think he was in Leipzig or Salzburg. I don't remember.
Yep.
Leipzig, yeah. So, for a goalkeeper, it's really important to play regularly, to keep more than your body, your brain fit. and on the ball. So it's gonna be very good. And we have also not the option, but we have to buy him at the end of the season in case of Serie A. I think that's the details of the contract. So we have to consider him as our own player. It's not a loaned player. It's our own, you know?
I think it's an important point. I mean, there have been, I feel like Martinez and maybe a little bit Payac too have been two of the whipping boys so far in the season of players like, oh, what's going on here? These guys are terrible. And I think Fabry and I are both actually fans of both of those players, but I think in Martinez's case, it's important to think about him that way because
Ekuban too.
Yeah, well, fair. I mean, look, this is another game. He almost had another chip goal, by the way. I mean, how many times?
2.
It's crazy. Like we were talking earlier, we've been a little bit unlucky, I think, in some of these matches. We've had some goals disallowed and some things that were razor thin, and it didn't go our way. I still think we could have played better against Palermo.
Yeah, but look at that. The one thing that really upsets me is like one team, and I did the comparison before with that team, which is, you know, the Gobbi, the Juventus. Anyways, they have a goal that is disallowed, and they talk forever, everywhere, all the issues around it. They disallow a goal for us. Oh, that's no big deal. It's like normal. It's okay.
Welcome to Italy, man.
That has to change. Yeah,
indeed.
Anyway, so go. Sorry, Tobia. What were you saying?
No. You go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So I wanted to actually bring a little bit of attention to match day 6. Yep. So this is the match just before the national break. And if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be a few days, a couple of weeks or whatnot for the blessing to recap a few things. It's important. I mean, obviously for us, like assetanati, come we say, like in Italian, we're like, oh my God, I need this blood-sucking thing about the soccer, and I want to see it like 3 matches in a week, right? But at the same time, it's also good for them to gain a little bit of a momentum and or regather their thoughts all together. So Modena is going to be a good stopping point. It's the first, let's say, lesser, bigger team that we're facing, as we mentioned before the break, that the first 5 matches were like quite important and strong anyways compared to the other teams, etc. So Modena will be the first one, and then we're going to have a break. So how you guys see this match now that we're going to be facing Modena, but at home?
Well,
Yeah,
it's at home at the Ferraris, and I hate saying this early in the season. I think all 3 of us are exactly in sync with this, but it kind of feels like a must-win because I feel like if we lose this match at home, I don't know what fury is going to unleash out of Genova, but I feel like it's going to be significant. This is one that so you know, some for our listeners, Genoa currently in 9th and Modena in 18th, sitting on 3 points versus us on 8. Like I wouldn't say this is going to be a really tricky Serie B match. It doesn't feel like that as much to me. I think we need to get the result. It'll probably be relatively close. But I would expect us to win, and perhaps win by more than a goal or 2 at the end. But you know, we've got our own, maybe hopefully there's not any sort of demons or anything like that right now, but with some of the stuff circulating in the media and everything else going on, the thing about a match like this, which we've not as Genoa fans been in this in a really long time, we're expected to win this game, and this is probably the first match all season that like we sure as hell better win this game. And the pressure is going to be, I hope our players aren't feeling this, but the pressure is going to be on them a little bit, because if Modena loses this match, no one cares. I don't know if anybody in Modena cares anyway, but like if they lose the match, like that's kind of, I'm sure somebody cares in Modena. There's a person in Modena who cares. But we have a little bit to lose in this match, and I think we need to see a performance from the side and also from Blessin. And so hopefully we don't get a little too tight if the game isn't in hand within, you know, the first half or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, with both of you. I'm not gonna do my prediction. It's bad luck every time I guess
Yes.
result
Yeah,
is gonna end. Yeah.
Two.
So I'm not gonna say it. I have to say. So let's talk facts of the game. No.
Mhm.
Fact of the game: Genoa is on paper way stronger than Modena, massively stronger. We got 5 points more, and I mean, we are considered the strongest team of the league. However, we haven't demonstrated that we are the strongest yet on performances. Something that you might not know: almost 800 fans from Modena are expected to be in Ferraris. It's quite remarkable.
More than one.
800.
That's a good
800.
Wow.
It's a rival firm for Genoa, for the Genoa fans. They are, I think they play a derby, or they are enemies with the Reggio Emilia, and we are very close with the Reggio Emilia fans. So there's a bit of hate with them, and a couple of past situations which I was too young to remember, to be honest. But yeah, there's no good blood with Modena. Okay, so that's gonna be. Is it gonna play a part in the game? Maybe. You know, we don't know. There's also another couple of things that are important about Modena. Thing number one: the manager is at risk for real, not like Blessin, because because they lost. I think they won one game and they lost 4, so they're not performing, and so it's gonna be like a really ultimatum kind of call for the Tesser, which is the manager of Modena. And they have a few important players out for injury in the midfield. I was reading a bit earlier. I don't remember the names. Unfortunately, I don't. But basically, they don't even have the backup of the kind of a quarterback play, in Modena midfield. So they're gonna be on an emergency situation in there. Things to remark about them: they are a pretty average mid-table team for Serie B in terms of roster. They just got promoted. They usually play with the 4-3-1-2 or with the 4-3-2-1. And that as well might be tricky for Genoa if they start to do a 4-3-3, because you're gonna be like mirroring them. And so it's gonna be lots of 1 versus 1, and you might lose a couple of them because their striker D-A-W, something like that, is quite of a good player. Everybody else are on average. We all know that teams that are going to come to play in Genova, they're going to play like it's the final of the Champions League, because it's a big stadium for them, a big opportunity to show their skills to a bigger club. So it's a game to watch. And it's a game to watch out for, because I generally believe that if we repeat the same mistake of Palermo, we're gonna risk to not win it. And as the same mistake, I mean, we were overconfident in Palermo.
I agree. I'm gonna actually say my say about this one. Contrary to what the feeling and the readings I got from Palermo, I think with the Modena game, it's going to be a totally different ball game. I think Genoa is going to come there and it's going to just thrash against the team and start to show sort of like in parallel with Coda starting to what Tobia was saying, to wake up, to become this goal machine. I think Genoa is going to start to show their imperative presence and meaningful aspect to the actual table. Now, one thing I wanted to add to that is, unfortunately, right now, because of the first 5 games that we had, we're going to have to play a little bit of a catch up, because as we know, and as we already talked about, it's 12 points to the top, which again, it's Regina and Brescia, nothing against them, but I don't foresee them to be the top 2. I'm probably talking out of too much confidence here, but nevertheless, that's still 4 points away. So at least for this game or the next few games, and there's going to be the break anyways, it's going to be playing catch up. And I think that this catch up with this match is going to happen hands down, and it's going to hopefully bring a little bit more peace to mind to a lot of players. Hopefully, I think what I want to see out of this match is to have confirmations about certain aspects, certain areas of the around the pitch in certain players, and so people are going to start to see that type of ownership and that importance that we may show.
Yes, I am with Tobia and not wanting to give the results away, but there's one thing that I feel really compelled to say, and I just hope it doesn't come against me when we're watching the match this weekend, but I think this is going to be the Ekuban match. I mean, we've had already a match or two that's been the Ekuban match, but we've been a little bit unlucky with him. I understand he's not been always the technical player. He's this physical, just specimen. He can go so fast. He fits the Blessin kind of directive of just being all over the pitch. And there were some of those, I still am in awe of some of the stuff that he did against Parma, just in holding the ball and having other players hold him and then just heading the ball forward. But this is a game that feels ripe for him to really dominate because he has that physical attribute. And also, kind of like Tobia said, he's been a little unlucky. Like there are a couple of, I think he probably should have scored against Palermo. And this is one that could work out for him. On the betting angle thing, because we've been doing this relatively recently and I'm a degenerate, there are a couple of lines. I don't like any of them actually really for this match, but just for those in the US and Canada, what BetMGM is putting out there. There is a plus 900 bet for this to be a 0-0 draw, which I don't think is a hurdle.
What did you say, 900?
Plus 900. So basically nearly doubling your bet for it to be a 0-0 draw. I don't think we're going to see a 0-0 draw, but I think there's a potential world where everything misfires and we get too tight and something like that happens. I don't really love that bet, but if you're really feeling lucky and you absolutely hate Blessin, have at it. I think probably the safer one is, which has a little bit of a payout, but not maybe as much as normal, is for the match final score to be over 3.5 goals. That's sitting at 220 plus 225 right now, so you get a little bit of your return back. I do think Genoa have 4 goals in them in this match, which is probably not sounding all that flattering for Modena. And to be fair, they've not allowed that many goals this season. The most they've allowed is 3 against Brescia in the last match they just played. But like you mentioned, Fabry, there's a little bit of a motivation. It is at home. I think if we get a goal early in this match, you're going to see a different level of play with Genoa. Where I'm going to be much more concerned is if we go towards the half and it looks maybe not even, but if we're not really separating ourselves from Modena, I think it's going to be a hard second half because you might see the Marassi turn a little bit. Could happen.
A little bit.
No, you know exactly. Well, no, you're absolutely right. And actually, we've seen throughout that Blessin's approach is to do the best he can do, at least in the first half.
Yeah.
And the first even 30 minutes, if I may even add to that. So once you pass that mark, it gets a little bit troublesome because of form, because of I don't know, even oxygen from a lot of players' perspective, and that complaint that continues to surround us of people saying that Blessin is not a good reader with respects to changing certain players and whatnot. Which is it because of the form and the shape that they are? We don't know. Like Tobia's point is, we're not the managers. We're not the experts. We don't know what happens in the training grounds and whatnot. We don't know how they are. Like everybody's everybody's a coach nowadays, right? So it's easy to say we bought Aramu, we bought Sturtman, we bought Puskas, and so on. Put them in because that does not mean anything.
Look at Juventus. No, they go well. They're playing now with Milik, Vlahovic, Kostic. They got the top team, right? Without considering those that are injured. They're rubbish because of the manager.
I was going to say
I believe that if Genoa is going to play a friendly against Juventus now,
they could win.
I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know.
They could win.
You can say, I think it's fair to say, I don't like the way Genoa plays. It doesn't appeal my palate, right?
Sure.
But saying
being
that
a little
he's
bit too sophisticated there to be a little
yeah,
bit snobby now.
but no, I mean, you know what I mean. Like it's fair to
totally.
say
Yeah.
it is absolutely idiotic, disrespectful, and not fair addressing Blessings as an incompetent. You know, the man was a professional football player, and then he became a professional manager. And I mean, he won the prize as the best manager of the Belgian league. Yes, it's the Belgian league. I'm pretty sure in Belgium, 3-4 teams are going to destroy a couple of teams of Italy. So, you know, the Italian league is not that high as we think.
Yeah.
And yeah, he coached in Serie A. He's coaching in Serie B, a team that's supposed to win. He wants to win the Serie B. So just let's trust him a little bit. You know, what can go wrong?
We gotta pump the brakes a little bit. I mean, the thing, we asked for stability, right? Like that was what we want from 777 when they came in. We didn't want to yank the manager after 5 games. Like that's what we're advocating for right now.
No, yeah, you actually bring up a good, very excellent point, Matt. Actually, is it because the typical Genoano, the one that is complaining right now, anyways, is it because they're so used to see like 3 coaches every season, and they're like, okay,
Is it expected?
2 not happy games, now I want a new one? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's probably that. It's there's also another thing. This is a speculation of mine. So you know, Preziosi has been in charge for a very long time, no, 15, 18 years, God knows when. God knows how long, sorry. Throughout this time, a lot of people that worked for Genoa from Genova, of course, built strong relationships with the local press, the ex-football players that many years ago played in Genoa and that are close to the club. A certain kind of let's call it establishment of Genoa, right? A group of people that don't belong to Genoa directly, but they are part of Genoa because since they are born, they talk, they write, they go on TV to share their opinion about Genoa. Those people, from the day the 777 partners go in, kind of had no access.
Oh yeah,
right? Kind of had no access to informations. Nobody's talking throughout the transfer market. All of those that were, they kind of got, you know, pushed on the side.
Yep.
That they upset them a lot, and they feel now entitled to criticize and attack because they feel like they've been left out. The attacks on Blessin, and this is entirely my opinion. I don't have proof for that. But the attacks on Blessin are not directly to him, are directed to Sports.
I believe this 1000%. I am so in that thing to be, and I don't agree with it, but I completely see that.
And the reason why folks are attacking Sports, I can guess, are 2. Again, no access to informations. Sports is not the kind of director that goes and tell, oh yeah, we are negotiating this guy, oh yes, we're gonna get this, or take out for dinner the local journalist or things like that. It's not that kind of manager, right?
Maybe Zangrillo. Maybe Zangrillo.
Maybe Zangrillo, yeah, maybe Zangrillo. And I mean, we all know that at the end of the last season, Zangrillo wasn't super happy with some things that Blessings and Sports did, right? You remember the press conference after the Napoli game. Mm-hmm. And we all know that he tried, rightly so, I would say, also to somewhat work towards a return of Gasperini.
Mm-hmm. That's, yeah.
No?
Yeah, no, I'm shaking my head just because I'm just like, whatever. Like, seriously.
I don't want to speculate in this because we don't know the truth about it. We don't know whether if it happened, what happened, how and what. The general feeling is this. It's good to hear today. I don't know if you've seen that Zangrillo spoken to the press. I think it was yesterday. There's some sort of a unity in the final goal. They all want to go ahead with Blessin. They all want to go ahead with the multi-year project, right? So that means that if they're not gonna get Serie A this year, they're not gonna quit. They're gonna keep on trying.
Yeah.
No, and they're building up a club from scratch. They're literally building up a club from scratch because there was nothing left. So let's give them time.
Absolutely. I fully agree with that. We've read and heard a lot of news about the fact of them wanting to strongly invest on the stadium, which unfortunately is a little bit of a setback only because of this current economical situation of the ciclisti per se, whatever. But and that's the only reason why they haven't touched, or at least nothing is official yet. A lot of talks are actually happening, and until all the approvals are in place, it's not going to happen officially. But definitely, they have been talking about the training grounds to revitalize, and they need at least 6 to 7 different fields, which right now Pegli is not offering to them. Things are happening, as Tobia said. They're building this team, this club, this investment that they have from the grounds up, and in a proper way. Like us, all the three of us, me from a Canadian standpoint, Matt from an American standpoint, and even Tobia from a UK standpoint, we know how our sort of companies work properly, diligently, like in a proper way, and so on. And I think, and I'm really hoping, and that's what I'm seeing anyways, that this is actually slowly happening with Genoa 2. We just need to give that time, because Rome built in a day.
I agree.
That's completely right. And I think
But oh, sorry, Matt, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, I mean, we looked, was it like a week ago? Genoa had their birthday. We had all these fans out on the coast.
That was my birthday too, by the
It was
way.
your birthday also. Fabry was having a doner
Happy
kebab
birthday.
somewhere in
Halifax.
and I was, not to beat my chest or anything, but I was at the last match last season when we got relegated. We marched all the way down, to the sea, and we had this big thing, and there were pyros everywhere, and it was a bad day given that we were relegated, and there was 30B graffiti all throughout Geneva and everything else. But Blessin gets to the stage that night and starts addressing the fans in English, of course, because he can't speak in Italian. And there was a really big feeling of unity, like there was on Genoa's birthday and all these other things that happened. And it's like, we watch a game against Palermo and all of a sudden we forget about all that stuff. Then I get it. I wanted to win the game too. And it was a disappointing result. I think we all have to say that's a real thing. It was even though it's a loss that could have happened, we wanted to win the game.
The way it came out, the way they lost came out was really nerve-wracking.
Yes.
I remember really like punching myself for 2 saves on the goal line.
I know.
That kind of stuff really gets you, Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. Like the fact we have to detract ourselves from the fact of being so passionate, because you are absolutely right, Tobia, and to Matt's point as well. It's like that the anger was not necessarily against a bad team, bad game. Yeah. Sure, it's not like the bubble, the champagne type of soccer, but oh my God, like I saw strong Genoa guys. Unlucky, but it's a strong Genoa.
Definitely scored like 2 separate times. One time he was offside, the other time it was saved off the line. Like Coda had a great shot that was saved. Like there are a lot of plays that happened that, I still think maybe we could be more creative, perhaps, I guess you could say. But like when you look at it on paper, on the whole, did we stink up the joint? No. Was it a relatively difficult away match? Like I think so. Traveling to Palermo.
Well, we have this thing in Italian which is called la nuvola di Fantozzi, which is like the cloud of Fantozzi, which is like the bad luck type of thing. That cannot be there forever. Eventually, it has to come back. I'm not saying that we have to be super extremely lucky, but the bad luck has to leave. Eventually, it's going to happen.
Yeah, that. I don't know if you talked about the referees as well.
No, we haven't.
We
haven't.
That's something that has to change.
Is there a point really to talk about
City
B of the refereeing?
That's what's happening, is we keep getting screwed over with these.
Yeah. I'd say, as you guys said already, heads down and just think of Modena. It's incredible for the way the Palermo defeat came and how upsetting it was. Like, we've been over it. How many times already? 5 times talking about, because it's so like unbelievable that Genoa lost the game. You know, it's unbelievable. It really is. But yeah, that we can only go forward. I'm really curious to see the reaction of the players in relation to the manager. Like, you know, he messed up, and it's easy to lose the control of the dressing room when you do something like that. Mostly in a team like Genoa that is full of strong players for Serie B.
You think so?
No, I don't think there's anything. But I know Genoa, and it happened in the past.
I understand
many times.
Because look, if we have a game, let's say, I'm going to do some reverse jinxing, hopefully, and say that we have a match like we had against Palermo against Modena. I think if you're in the locker room after that match, you probably are questioning a little bit more what's going on. You're definitely seeing that out in the wild in Genova. People are saying all sorts of shit about getting Blessing out of there and stuff like that. So I'm with Tobia in that, like, this is an important one for Blessing. Unfortunately, even though it's only 6 matches into the second season, not even a full season he's been in charge. But we need to have there needs to be a game plan that players buy into. So far, they've bought into it. I know this is like maybe like a narrative that doesn't seem like it's a real thing, but you do get that questioning, I think, if you don't see those results happening on a regular basis after a little while.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens. Ideally, I would like to see Genoa win, and I would like the players that scored the goal go in and cheer with the manager. You know, go and cheer with the manager, because I think they have to play for him. Let's not forget, yes, he messed up the Palermo game, but when he came in last year, he took Badeli and a bunch of other players after the Fiorentina 5-0, 6-0 defeat.
6-0.
I don't want to think about that match.
You know, with the Fiorentina fans really mocking us, no? Awful. And so he came back after that, and he almost saved Genoa from relegation, almost.
2 points.
2 points. And definitely we are a football team. We are now a real football team. Whether strong or not is early to say, but we are a football team. So, you know, it saved the career of a few players, I would say, and the legs of a few players. Trust me.
Absolutely. Just a few statistics from the actual referee for the next match. So he is fairly Luca is the name. Fairly new, never played in Serie A, which understandable. We're in Serie B. Started in Serie B last year, and if I count this right, there's 5 matches under his belt last year in Serie B, and 2 already this year. And from the numbers I'm looking at, he pulls out quite easily the cards. So there's a total of, I'm just going to do a quick tally here, but out of 7 matches, there's 15 yellow cards. There's actually 3 red cards, and there's a whole load of 6 penalties. Now, mind you that the penalties came out of 3 matches, where 2 was 3 penalties and then another one with 2, which was I see your eyes, Tobia. The 3 rigori, the penalties were from Cittadella Pisa. And
what the hell are they sending? Oh my God, I'm not going to sleep tonight now.
So those are interesting stats about Mr. Zeffirelli, but nevertheless.
I don't like those statistics either.
I know. Well, these are, I'm not the ones, I still have interest in watching the head-to-heads. And with Modena, it's not negative, but if you look at the matches in Marassi, the count is not that positive, but we're also talking about early 2000s. So what does that really mean? But these stats about the ref that is like fresh meat type of thing, it's a little bit worrisome. Let's hope for the best that those penalties are going to come to us, not against us, but nevertheless. Yes. So if Tobia is true to his word, I'm going to look at him and not necessarily ask him to respond to that. Are you okay if I ask what's your predictions for the next match?
No predictions.
That's fair. Fair enough. Everybody.
No predictions. It's bad luck. If I have to say something, I want to see a performance. I want to see Genoa playing good, convincingly. I want Genoa not to play an amazing football. I want Genoa to play the Blessings football.
Yes.
Because Blessings is the manager. I don't want him to change his ideas.
Yep.
I would be really happy to see his 4-2-2-2-2 2000 on from the first minute. Maybe a few changes in the pitch due to physical conditions, but I want him to go ahead straight like a train with his own mentality. And I want him to win the fans over that are skeptic about him in that way. Then we're gonna win, we're gonna lose, we're gonna draw, I don't know, they're gonna suspend the game because the fans invaded the pitch looking for the players in order to kill them. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see.
Or if you recall when they were asking for the players' jerseys to take them off because they didn't deserve it.
Yeah,
that was back in the days.
Those dark times.
Oh well, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go to Matt in a second, but at least one thing I'm going to ask from you, Tobia. Give me, if I may ask you, at least what's your starting 11?
My starting 11. Wow. Okay. So if we're going with Blessings 4-2-2-2-2, well, Martinez.
But you talked about the 4-3-3. Possible.
Yeah, we can. I'll give you both.
Okay.
It's quite simple.
That's fair.
So the 4-2-2-2-2-2, you're gonna have yeah, it's quite funny. Martinez, Bani, Dragozin, Hefty, Pajic. However, let's monitor Bani because he had influenza like Leobio fever. So maybe Vogliacco might play. We'll see. But if Bani is fit, Bani will be playing.
Yep. Okay.
Midfield, we lost Galdames out for injury for a couple of months. So Frendrup Badeli. On the right, I'm going to play Aramu from the first minute. On the left, I'm going to play Jagello, how is it spelled? Koda Kuban. It's just that. If he's going to do a 4-3-3, then I'll do Badeli in front of the defense, and that is going to stay the same. Frendrup and Jagello in the midfield. Aramu on the right-hand side, ready to cut in the middle. So he's going to start large and then go in behind the two strikers, the sort of movement that Di Maria does, okay? On the left-hand side, I'll play Ekuban, and I'll put Koda in the middle.
Matt.
I think it really will be the 4-2-2-2. There we go. And the only difference I have from Tobia's lineup is I do still think Blessin being a man. I'm 100% by the way with Tobia on this. I would love to see Blessin just say, "Fuck you! I'm doing it again. I'm playing my same players again. I don't care." And I think he's going to have Porto.
I'd love to see that too. Yeah.
I think he's going to have Portanova in on the right side and Jagello on the left. So no Aramu until probably the 85th minute, like he usually does. But I think it's going to be the 4-2-2-2, that same lineup. Ekuban and Koda as the two strikers up front. But we shall see.
What about the?
And the defense, I think, would be pretty much unchanged. So it'd be Pajic, and I suppose we have to monitor Bani, but I'm still Dragoshin, Bani, and Hefty, and of course Martinez in goal.
What about your prediction? Go for it.
Tobia's making me nervous too. I really think Genoa are going to respond. I think this is going to be a game that will not, I don't think it actually will be a massive gulf in goals. I don't think it's going to be 5-0. I don't think we're quite at the technical level yet. And then with Tobia's assessment that the team, we talked about this earlier with the fitness levels and the way that Blessin wants to play. It's like a lot of stuff to ask of a team early in the season. And even though Blessin has been there since the last season, some of these players have not been there since when they were brought in. I think it may be 2-0 to Genoa, but again, I am crossing my fingers and toes that actually does end up happening. So
fair enough. So this is my prediction. So with respect to the formation, I think it's not going to have a major drastic change with respects to the formation. before the break. I think we're going to start to see the changes coming after the break based on the fact of preparation and whatnot that we've been talking about. So I still think it's going to be a 4-2-2-2-2. And I still think that maybe throughout the match, we're going to just see maybe a little bit of a change based on the fact of how the results are going to come in and or what's happening throughout the match. Now, with respect to the results, I think it's going to be a clean cut. I'm almost with what is an MGM bet or whatnot. I think it's going to be a clear 3 goal differential between the two. I want to see actually, if my heart is going to say that it's going to be like a doppietta from Coda and one between Ekuban and or someone that is going to come in. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a spare. It's going to be kind of like divided among the strikers that are going to come throughout the match. So I'm going to see maybe one from Coda, maybe one from Ekuban and or whomever is going to be replacing these two. As I'm agreeing with you guys that it's going to be Ekuban and Coda starting from the beginning anyways, because I still think that Blessing is going to pull up the middle finger and say, I am the manager and I do how I want because I know how to do stuff.
But you guys forget this guy's a German. I feel like he's totally just gonna be like, fuck you. And at the end, he's gonna come to the Gradinata and we're gonna get the hey. So well,
you know what? Like that thing too, like I love this guy. Like I really think that he is like one of the best uomo spogliatoio that we've seen for a long time. But the fact of him being German and whatnot, I fully see that, and all those fans that are continuously saying he has to learn Italian. Who said that? First of all, second, I do agree that it might be helping, but hey, aren't we supposed to be a little bit more multinational and understand things and speak a little bit more of the international language, which is called English?
And one of the reasons why probably they contest him and they don't like him is because they can't understand him.
Oh, I love when he does the conference and he speaks in English. I'm like, I don't even want to hear that idiot that is like
the next time. Yeah. No, I think he should learn Italian, but not because of the fans.
Keywords for sure,
and not even for the players, because none of the players speaks Italian. Not even the Italian ones.
True.
You know, it's just it's just a statement that he has to do. You know, it's just something that he has to say. Okay, I speak Italian as well. I'm fully in Genova.
Yeah,
we're in Italy. Even the one had to learn Italian, so we know that that's expected, and it's expected. I can't really add anything else to that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tobia, this was a blast to have you with us. I purposely looked for you to be in this episode because as Matt has already like understood, there was a little bit of flame happening underneath with respects to the fans and wanting blessings head and whatnot, and I thought that you were the best guest right now at this point in time to speak about what is reality out there, what should happen and whatnot. So I'm really happy and blessed that you were part of you were our guest actually.
Well, thank you for the nice words. You didn't choose me for my moderate and democratic points of view. I'm not really that on our chats, but yeah, thanks very much, and yeah, it's been great fun.
Good deal. Well, Tobia, it's been awesome. My last question for you before we leave is, you're in Edinburgh. Are you Hearts or are you Hibs?
Hibs.
Ah, okay.
Hibs, because my first flat was in nearby Leaf Walk, which is the area of the Hibs, and it's very close to Easter Road, which is the street and the stadium. And I remember that I was looking outside the window from my room, and I was seeing a quarter of the pitch. So every Sunday when they were playing, I was getting waken up basically by the fans. It was crazy, yeah.
So you do have to give a little bit of explanation to us that don't know these terms, right?
So in Edinburgh, there are two main rivals. There's Heart of Midlothian, and then there's Hibernian. And so Hibernian play on Easter Road. They're kind of like more traditionally, it's sort of like it's not like a Celtic Rangers, but it's kind of a similar thing where Hearts were a little bit more
Royalists.
royalists,
yeah.
and Hibs obviously like very much. It's like it was founded originally by Irish players, but it's not quite as brutal necessarily as the two. But
It used to be. It used to
Yeah.
be brutal in the 80s and the 70s, as everywhere in the UK and in Scotland.
Yeah.
Now, guys, it's a nice atmosphere on the stands. They really sing and they really chant. I was impressed. A game of football is something else.
That's crazy. I love it.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for listening to us on our 17th episode, Matt. We're already on the 17th plus the pilot episode. So technically it's 18.
There you go.
But we're enthusiastic and happy to have you always here listening to us. And we look forward to for the next episode next week and to victoriously, hopefully, talk about the win of match day 6. Exactly. Everybody with finger crossed and touch everything you want. Forza Genoa.
What was it,
Forza Genoa.
You've listened to La Lanterna, a spotlight on Italian football, a podcast powered by Genoani Resta. Thank you for listening and see you next week.